I trusted my boyfriend completely until his boss told him, "I love you" on a work call, invited him to her house, exchanged deep emotional messages about our relationship, lied to my face repeatedly until I played a recording, got fired right after I forced boundaries, let his family call me crazy behind my back, and now I'm being asked to move on like none of it was an emotional affair. A couple of months ago, something happened that I haven't been able to shake, no matter how hard I try to rationalize it. My boyfriend was on a Zoom call with his boss. This is completely normal, he works from home sometimes, and I've overheard plenty of work calls over the years. Everything sounded routine at first. Work talk, light conversation, the usual professional back and forth. Then I suddenly heard them laugh, and right after that, I heard her say, very clearly, "I love you." There was no joking tone. No obvious sarcasm. Just those 3 words. My boyfriend immediately reacted by loudly exclaiming, "What?" He sounded shocked but also panicked, like the kind of panic you hear when someone is caught off guard and doesn't know how to respond. After that, there was an awkward silence. No one laughed it off. No one clarified. They just paused. Then, almost immediately, they jumped back into talking about work, but the tone completely changed. They were suddenly speaking faster, louder, and more frantically than before, like they were trying to cover the moment and move past it as quickly as possible. That went on for about 5 minutes. Gradually, their voices got quieter until I realized they were now whispering to each other. Shortly after that, I started hearing the notification sounds from Zoom's messaging feature. At that point, my stomach was in knots. For some context, we've been together for 2 years. We're both in our 30s. His boss is in her 40s, single, and she owns the company. He's been working for her for almost a decade. This was his first job out of college, and he worked his way up to assistant manager. Their professional relationship has always seemed close, but I never questioned it. I trusted him completely. After the meeting ended, he came into the room and asked me if there was anything we needed to talk about. But he didn't mention what happened on the call. He didn't bring up the "I love you," the awkward silence, the whispering nothing. I froze and didn't say anything either. I didn't even know how to start that conversation, and honestly, part of me was hoping I had misunderstood what I heard. I want to be very clear about something. I have never been the kind of person to check his phone, question where he's going, or ask who he's with. I've never felt the need to monitor him or his behavior. I truly trusted him. But this situation made me feel so uneasy that I did something I never thought I would do. I looked through his messages. And even doing that made me feel sick to my stomach. I read through his text conversation with his boss, and some of what I saw really stuck with me. One message from him said, "Hola son, I just wanted to give you a heads up and be honest with you. I have an appointment with a therapist to try some one-on-one counseling next Tuesday at 6 p.m. For additional context, this past year has been incredibly difficult for us for many reasons." Her response, though, felt heavy. She replied, "I think that's a great idea. Truly, I'm so proud of you for even thinking about it, BC. It helps truly. I go to one every now and then too, BC. Life is so hard. What can I do for you to help? I'm always here for you. Always in all ways." As I kept reading through their messages, the pit in my stomach only grew heavier. What stood out the most wasn't just what was being said, but the depth, intimacy, and emotional reliance woven through the conversation. This wasn't light encouragement or surface-level work support. It felt like something much deeper, something that crossed lines I didn't even realize were being crossed until I was staring right at them. My boyfriend sent her a long message explaining what he was going through. He wrote that it wasn't just what had happened between him and me, but everything that had led up to it. He talked about the health issues he's dealt with this year, the stress piling up from every direction, and how so many failed relationships over his lifetime had taken a toll on him. He mentioned his mom, his financial stress, and the everyday challenges of work. He said all of it compounded together until he felt completely checked out from everyone, including himself. He described it as the crown being too heavy for the head, and admitted that he just couldn't keep everything together anymore, even though there was a time when he felt like he could. He ended by saying he felt depressed and anxious all at once, that he was sorry for unloading so much, but that it was a snapshot of his mental state. He said he needed to talk to someone because he didn't feel like he could talk to anyone about any of it. Reading that broke my heart in one way because I know he's been struggling. I've been right there beside him through so much of it. But it also hurt in another way because I am someone who has tried to be there for him, someone who loves him, and yet he felt like he couldn't talk to anyone except her. Her response came quickly and felt intensely personal. She told him she truly understood. She suggested he talk to a coworker who had gone through something similar, but then added, "And I'm always here too." She asked, "What can I do in this moment for you?" He replied that there wasn't really anything she could do, that he just wanted to be honest about how he was feeling about life as a whole. He said he was tired, mentally checked out, burned out in all aspects of his life, and that it was affecting every part of his world. He admitted he was trying to smile his way through it. That's when her messages took on a tone that made my chest tighten even more. She went into a long, emotional, almost spiritual response. She talked about how she wished she could show him what God had shown her about him. She said that every time she prayed for him, God revealed more, and that it was an incredible vision. She told him he couldn't get to the good parts of life without going through the really hellish parts first. She told him to keep swimming, to talk to the therapist, to get it all out. She said they both tend to hold everything in because they are the ones everyone relies on. She told him they were meant for the crown, comparing them to leaders who carry heavy burdens. She even used metaphors about Superman needing to take off his cape and just be human sometimes. She framed his pain as a refining process, something meant to strengthen him, even though he felt defeated, lost, and broken. She encouraged him to look up for help, to trust God, and reassured him that this suffering had purpose. Then she added something that really crossed into territory I wasn't prepared for. She told him she was always there to talk before work, during work, and after work. And then she said, "If you want to come hang out at my house, you can anytime." That sentence stopped me cold. He responded by thanking her and telling her he truly appreciated the message. Then he added that he appreciated the offer and would take her up on it sooner rather than later. She replied with, "Anytime." After seeing that he had accepted her invitation to come over to her house, I knew I couldn't just sit with it. I was upset, confused, and honestly spiraling. I needed answers. So I decided I was going to confront him calmly and give him the opportunity to explain himself, even though my gut was already screaming that something wasn't right. 2 days later, I asked him if there was anything he needed to tell me. He looked me straight in the eye and said no. That's when I brought up what I heard on the work call, the moment when his boss said, "I love you." He immediately denied it, flat out said it never happened. I then mentioned the whispering and the Zoom messages afterward. He denied that too. He kept insisting I was mistaken, that I misheard, that I was reading into things. I started to feel that familiar sinking feeling, the one where you begin to question your own reality. Then I told him I had recorded it. I had started recording on my phone the moment I heard her say, "I love you," because something in me knew I needed proof. The relief and horror I felt knowing I had it is hard to describe. Once I said that, his story changed. He admitted that yes, she does say that to him. I asked him if he ever says it back. He said no. He tried to make it sound casual, like it was just something she said, and he ignored. But later in the conversation, he let something else slip. He said that sometimes their work conversations are recorded and stored on his laptop. That immediately raised another red flag for me. I asked him if he could pull up one recording, just one, where she says, "I love you," and he doesn't say it back. That's when he changed his story again. He admitted that he does say it back sometimes. At that point, I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. When I confronted him about lying to me multiple times in the same conversation, he got frustrated and snapped that it was hard to argue with me when I have all the facts. That sentence still echoes in my head. I then brought up the messages I had seen, the invitation to her house, and him saying he'd take her up on it sooner rather than later. He denied it. He denied ever being invited. He denied agreeing to go. He denied ever going to her house at all. I had never expected him to lie to me so easily and so repeatedly. I was devastated and overwhelmed, and I asked him to leave the apartment. After he left, we talked more. I told him that regardless of what he claimed did or didn't happen, the behavior at work needed to stop immediately. No more saying, "I love you." No more private meetings about his personal life. No more emotional dependence on his boss. He agreed. 2 weeks later, he was fired. His boss cited performance issues that had never once been brought to his attention before. No warnings. No improvement plans. Nothing. To me, it felt like confirmation that something inappropriate had been happening and that once boundaries were put in place, the dynamic broke. He insists it was because he had checked out emotionally after everything that happened between us. I don't know which version of that story is true. What hurt even more came after I asked him to leave. That same day, he went to his brother's house and told his family that I was crazy for kicking him out of our apartment. He later sent me a long text defending himself, but I could tell immediately it wasn't written by him.
It was written by his sister-in-law.
The wording, the tone, the way it dismissed my feelings, it wasn't him at all. He told his dad everything too. And now his dad keeps asking him when he's going to leave me. I don't know exactly what he said to his family about me after I asked him to leave, and honestly, I don't really want to know. The thought of it makes my stomach twist. We have talked about it since, and he has told me that he's reflected on that moment and realizes it was wrong to involve them the way he did. He says he's now actively trying to fix it by telling them that he was wrong and that he mishandled the situation. I want to believe that. I want to believe that he understands the damage that was done and is trying to repair it. But then things keep happening that reopen the wound. This past month, there was a family outing planned by his sister-in-law. It was the first family event since everything blew up, since the boss, the lies, the firing, all of it. I was not invited. My boyfriend told me that a bunch of family and friends were going, and that he had accepted the invitation without me. I told him that was fine. And on the surface, it was. But underneath, it hurt. It felt like he wasn't really standing up for me or for us, especially after the way his family had been told about the situation. It felt like I was still being quietly sidelined. The day before the event, he casually mentioned that there was a possibility it would end up being just 4 people. Him, his brother, his sister-in-law, and his sister-in-law's single friend. When he said that, something in me snapped. I told him that made me uncomfortable and upset.
He didn't understand why.
He kept saying it wasn't a big deal. To him, it was just people hanging out. To me, it was another moment where my feelings didn't seem to matter. I tried to explain that my trust in him is not what it used to be. That given everything that has happened, the emotional closeness with his boss, the lying, the family involvement, situations like that hit differently now. He responded by saying that if he were in my shoes, it wouldn't bother him because he trusts me. And that's when I finally said out loud what I had been trying not to admit. I don't trust him right now. He ended up not going to the event because I was upset, but even that didn't bring relief. It just highlighted how far apart we are in understanding each other. He is back living in the apartment now. Day to day, he does seem like he's trying. He's more present, more attentive, more involved. He's trying to be a more equal partner.
He apologizes.
He reassures me. On the surface, it looks like effort. But then something small happens, a comment, a reaction, a dismissal of my feelings, and I feel that familiar drop in my chest again. The trust isn't there, and without it, everything feels fragile. Part of what makes this so hard is that he doesn't have a lot of long-term relationship experience. I keep going back and forth in my head between 2 possibilities. One is that he genuinely didn't think what he was doing was wrong, that he was naive, inexperienced, and didn't understand where appropriate boundaries should be, especially with someone in a position of power over him. The other possibility is much harder to sit with, that he knew exactly what he was doing, that the relationship with his boss was inappropriate, and that it was on the verge of becoming something more. He says he lied about his boss because he was nervous and that it ties back to childhood trauma. He is still in therapy and says he's trying to work through it. But at the same time, he still doesn't seem to fully grasp why this was such a big deal to me. Sometimes, when we talk about his boss, he still denies that he did anything truly wrong. He admits he shouldn't have shared our personal relationship issues or my private information with her, but because he insists nothing romantic ever happened, he doesn't believe it should threaten our relationship.
That's what leaves me so stuck.
I trusted him deeply. I believed in him. And outside of this, he really is a good person in many ways. He is open to couples counseling and says he's willing to do the work. But I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if counseling will help me rebuild trust, or if it will just prolong something that has already broken. I'm terrified of giving up too easily, especially because I know relationships take work. I'm getting older. I want a family. I don't want to walk away from something that could be repaired if I just tried harder. At the same time, I don't want to stay in a relationship where I'm constantly questioning my reality, my instincts, and my self-worth. Some people tell me this is no big deal, that it was messy but not malicious, and that it can be worked through. Others tell me this is a situation where I should run as fast as I can. And I'm stuck in the middle, wondering if holding on means I'm being loyal and patient, or if it means I'm betraying myself.